Hello, footies. Welcome back to FUT in Review Shorts, another episode of FUT in Review Shorts. Today is Thursday, October 3rd, and today we'll talk to Ben Godfrey SBC, tell you to do the marquee matchup, and give you several quick tips for Weekend League number 1. So let's dive into Ben Godfrey first, shall we? And to do that, if you are, of course, on the live show or on the YouTube version of this, or even on Spotify these days, you can join in on screen. You can watch the video and you can actually check it out. So Ben Godfrey, and I have to admit, on the first thought when I saw this card, I didn't think much of this card. So his defending stats, let's have a look here, seem rather weak for a central defender. But I will tell you that I will advise to just do him. It's pretty simple. There's a couple of reasons. First of all, he's pretty easy to link. Of course, Serie A and of course his nationality, but also because he can play on a whopping 3 positions. He can play left back, he can play right back, and he can even play center defender. Not the only player that can do that, but left and right and center is pretty standout to me. But something that really stands out, and this one is actually one of the first cards, and maybe even the first card in total, but I'm not quite sure, that has a role plus on all the positions he can play in. So if we checked out the rules on center defender, he's got a defender plus. On right back, he's got a fullback plus, and on left back, he's got a plus, fullback plus as well. So a role plus on all positions he can play. So for 28,000 coins, you get an easy to link player that can play on 3 different positions and can be set on a role plus. Also, he could get some upgrades as well. And Ben Godfrey today shows me that first impressions about a player card aren't always correct. And for me, that's why I give Ben Godfrey a big thumbs up. Let's quickly dive into the marquee matchups today. And normally when I go to the marquee matchup so far, we have had 2 already. I say just do them. Make sure to try. You can gamble at this stage of the game. There's plenty of gold cards that are worth something, so why not do it? So this week, I won't run through them all, but there's one that stands out to me, and that is the Panathinaikos versus Olympiakos, because you need a Greek player in that team, and those aren't really common, which means there's a good possibility to sell the Greek players you might happen to have for a pretty good price. When the SBC hit, they were up for about some 4K, I thought the minimum one. Coming back to the marquee matchups themselves, it's almost, like I said, always a good thing to just complete them. This week is no different from that. So these marquee matchup, I'd say just do them. I hope you get lucky. If you are lucky, just send us a message of the big pool in the socials. Go at FUT in Review on all socials, and we might share them, of course. What do we have left is, of course, the weekend. Tomorrow is the first day of our weekend league. And I thought it'd be a good idea, or actually I also got recommended to finally talk about some of these tips, to give you some tips. And I have to admit, I've done like dozens and dozens of FAQs. We did tutorials, we did masterclasses with organizations, with teams, with clubs on the topic. But in today's show, I just wanted to highlight a couple of those tips. Some will sound familiar, probably, if you ever listened to a show I did. But I'm sure there's at least one that's probably very new for most FC players. Be mindful, though, these are focused on the mental side of FUT and gems. And that's mostly because I expect it to be tougher than ever. And I think it's good to start prepping players for that. We'll definitely come back with gameplay tips too in the near future. So let's start, shall we? Tip number 1. Tip number 1 is that basically you have got time, even if you think you haven't got time, which is usually what I think before I start a weekend league. So weekend league is now 15 matches. We don't know the exact time windows yet, which Also a bit weird, but let's assume we have 3 days to play, okay? So that's 5 matches a day, which nets around 2 hours of play a day, including some DCs, can't find an opponent, you need to walk around, etc. So there's no need to rush game. Even if you don't have time, the way the current format is built, where you get a tier higher reward for every win, and you don't drop back in elo if you quit out every match. Well, not every match, but when you quit out, you don't count as a loss for your elo. This means that every match matters. So take your time, schedule that time, plan each match, or split them up in the sections with like maximum of 2 or 3 matches. And it should be actually very doable time-wise and stress-wise. This weekend, I said I have an extremely busy weekend, and I don't think I can actually play. But when I started planning it, for example, I realized that in the hour that the show is exporting and doing all the technical work behind the screens on Friday evening, I can actually play 2 matches at least, maybe even 3. That is already 20% of the weekend league done. You wake up half an hour early, that's 2 matches done. Something like that. If you schedule it, you should be able to do it. I would advise against playing more than 2 or 3 matches in a row because one mentality, we'll talk about that soon, but also it's just a long shit. It's a tough match. It's a tough game so far. You have to be focused, and it's better to play 10 matches focused, I think, in this year. And we see that it results players coming up. These players that come up aren't the players that grind out the game, play 30 in a row, win 30 in a row. That's hardly doable. So players that set aside the time for it will perform better. So it's better to play just 10 and get the most out of those 10, and you get rewards anyways, than to try to force 15 but end up with a net worse result, which is very likely to happen when the competition is really tough. Also, stress-wise, probably better if you just schedule it. You don't have to think about it all weekend. You know when you're going to play. Pretty doable. Talking about stress, tip number 2 is stress is good. Like I said, most of the tips of the day will lean into stress. So stress can be good and stress can be bad. But when humans usually experiences good stress, you will get the ability to get extra focused, be faster, be smarter, notice things quicker, and profit from stress. You can run faster by chased by a bear, for example, if you run than if you go and run for a beer, which sounds the same, but you don't want a bear chasing you. Well, at least most will run faster away from a beer than towards getting a beer from the fridge, but you get my point. When you're in danger, you get good stress. That stress helps you to perform better. So getting a little bit of pressure is usually better for performances. But how do you make sure the stress you get is the good stress? Well, we always start when we start training like esporters or players that really want to perform well by trying to avoid bad stress as much as we can. And that's 100% going to be a part of this weekend league. You will face disconnects, you will face hate messages, you might face a big loss now and then, and much, much more toxic things like holding the ball, celebrations, you name it. So here's a couple of quick tips to make champs a safer zone versus at least a bad stress, right? The first one is disable the Xbox, the PlayStation, PC messages, or even like turn them on friends only, for example. It's a 10-second adjustment to the settings. And even if it's just for the weekend, it's no biggie. Because no message that's going to be sent is going to give you good stress. It's not going to give you an addition to the good stress. It might be a very nice message, but it can also be a message that will tilt you and cause you bad stress. And even if it's a nice message, read it when you finish the weekend league and respond very nicely back after the weekend has been completed. And it's still perfectly fine. If I get a message a week later saying something, thank you for the match, but I forgot the answer, I'd still be far more happy than watching that message during a game or after a game and seeing some shithousery, if I can say that, and be a little bit annoyed by it. Starting a new game annoyed, new match annoyed, is definitely not the way to do it. The second thing to avoid bad stress is to disable celebrations. So basically, you see only your own players when an opponent is celebrating. They might celebrate, but you won't see it. So we made a quick tutorial about the video settings. So if you go to youtube.com/FUTInreview, if you don't know exactly how to do it, it's an easy setting. You can just change it. Also very important, after every match you've played, move around. And I know we're coming back into the area where you say, but I don't have time for that. But even if it's just for a couple of minutes, a quick water run to the fridge, for example. Because if we as humans experience stress, and this is just science, we need to move. Like it's the old hunter days. If you get chased by that bear, you want to go and move. Because if we can't move while having stress, we build up stress. You're not going to be sitting down when that bear is getting close by, right? You need to release the tension and run away. So movement is actually the easiest and most efficient way to do it. And to be fair, with so little matches to be played over a weekend, if you split it up in like an hour or 2 hours every time, you play 2 or 3 matches, everyone should be able to just move around a little bit. And if you think, yeah, I mean, this sounds a little bit hokey pokey, John. If you think I'm rambling, try to remember a moment where you were really stressed out and you stayed put. You stayed in your seat and you were stressed out. Maybe at your job or you're sitting, or maybe at school, or playing foot even. You're really getting frustrated by what's going on and you clench your fist. And the first thing that you want to do is basically smack a wall or toss a controller through the window, because energy when stress builds up needs to leave your body. And moving, even if it's just a walk, releases that energy and makes you focus for the next one. You get rid of the bad stress, or you need to release it. That's why a deer runs away from a hunter, for example, and then falls asleep. It needs to recharge. And honestly, just going for a walk to get a drink is a far healthier and a cheaper way to move, like to stay fit and to stay mentally healthy during the way. It's better. And also controllers are like getting really expensive. So I wouldn't recommend throwing a controller anyway. Quickly turning back into good stress. How can you control stress to make it work for you? Well, there's like, I was thinking about this show, and there's dozens and dozens of methods. I've been training myself those for years. We've been talking with football clubs. We've been talking with high athletes about it. And there's one method which I'm just going to say today, which is a very easy method, which is used by many, many people with more stressful occupations than playing weekly league. And all these occupations actually need good stress to perform better. So think about athletes. The method is actually based on boxing. Firefighters, policemen, and even the Navy SEALs use this method. And you can do this method behind your desk just playing foot. So, and we've been teaching this to esport athletes for, I think, at least 3 years now. And everyone says in the start, hey, this is a weird thing to do. But once they get going, they love it. And it's going to be a part of your food habits, or maybe even your life habits. It is called box breathing. This simple technique will calm you down, lower your blood pressure, increase your focus, and help you optimize your peak performance. How to box breathe? Well, now it's time to just learn how to box breathe, right? You breathe in through your nose to completely fill your lungs with air and count to 4. So you push your air into your belly. You hold your breath for 4 seconds, trying not to inhale further or exhale. Then you relax your jaw and you exhale slowly through your mouth for 4 seconds, like you're fogging a mirror, for example. Then try not to inhale for 4 seconds again and repeat those steps. So you breathe in 4 seconds, you hold 4 seconds, you breathe out through your mouth for 4 seconds, and you hold for 4 seconds. You can also imagine a box by 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. That's how they breathe. Firefighters actually count to 4 when they start training this. They count to 4 when breathing in, hold 4 seconds, breathe out 4 seconds, breathe out. You can do this everywhere. And repeat steps 1 to 4. Keep counting to 4 until you feel relaxed and more focused. And the next time you feel stressed or out of breath, take 30, 60 seconds maximum to focus on your breath and your mindset. And at the start, if you're not training, it's like if you don't have the time, you feel stressed, or you feel you can't do it yet. If 4 seconds is too much, it's just okay with practicing with just 2 seconds or 3 seconds in the beginning to set yourself up for success. Once you get the hang of it, you can increase your count to 4. In FUT, you can do this on several occasions. So when a match is loading, leave the intro running and start doing it, right? During halftime or the pauses you're taking. After a match, before you take that quick walk, and once you practice it even more, you can do it during the action. So like I said, fireworkers, Navy SEALs are trained to box breathe during the action. Same goes for actually boxers, and they always train, good boxers always train box breathing during calming down workouts. Like after they have the good workout, they start box breathing when doing the calming down workout. For fireworkers, it even saves oxygen, and the SEAL keeps himself calm while doing it. So imagine you being stressed and watch, mind your own breathing, right? It's often very quick, it's very high in your chest. And if you can control that, you will make things around you be more in control for you too. So if you want to try it for even if this weekend you start or when you're playing rivals, try it before and after a match first. Try to make this your own. And that's actually all there's to it. It's just count to 4, keep counting to 4, count to 4 again, and keep breathing. Everyone can breathe. Everyone can count to 4. It's a pretty easy way, and it's a very transformative way to control the gut stress in your body and make it work for you. Now, I know this can all sound a little woozy, so don't worry. We'll get back into the gameplay tips soon enough. But these are some of the tips everyone can incorporate in their FUT routine. And I will guarantee you this will make your weekend league, if you combine all these tips, much more enjoyable too. Now, we'll have many, many more shows. So there's plenty of time. And of course, we'll share our gameplay tips whenever we can too. And if you are curious about these methods, how you can incorporate them, how they are a part of our FUT coaching methods as well, like mental training is one of our 3 pillars, for example. Check it out at futcoaching.com or just reach out if you have any questions or interest. That's basically all there is for me. No much content today, but I thought I might give you some tips. I'll be back tomorrow with Chris and Ingvi, and of course, Road to the Knockout team number 2. Have a great day, and just leaves me just with one thing left to do, and that is to drop it.
Drop it.
You,
T.
you,
T.
you,
T.
you, T,
T.
T, in you.